Good evening, everyone. So here we are on the fourth lecture of the PYQ analysis series under Adharshila. So here we are under the fourth and the last lecture of the polity PYQ analysis. Basically, it is the fourth as well as the last lecture of the polity PYQ analysis. But this is not the last video that we are going to take. After this, we will start the PYQ analysis of the geography section. We will start the PYQ analysis of the geography subject. This geography will also take 3 to 4 videos of analyzing the previous year questions, and we will deduce the patterns on which the UPSC has been asking the questions. So we will try to have some kind of important topics that are very much relevant for the UPSC prelims examination. Okay. So without any further delay, let us start with the topic for today. And the topic for today are the election processes. Then we have the Panchayati Raj institutions. Then we have the amendment to the constitution. So these three topics will be dealt today. So let us start with the question number 1 of the election processes today. सौरभ ये टीवी बंद कर देना, डिस्प्ले बंद कर दो पीछे वाली. Okay. So the first question is, for the election to the Lok Sabha, a nomination paper can be filed by. Basically, it is talking about the eligibility for being a member of parliament. Eligibility for being a member of parliament from Lok Sabha. So basically, the question has been talking about the qualifications that are being required for being a member of the parliament from Lok Sabha. Now, if I talk about there are 3 conditions that must be met by a person that must be eligible for membership to the Lok Sabha. The first is having an age of not less than 25 years. Not less than 25 years of age. Then secondly, must be a citizen of India. He or she must be a citizen of India. And thirdly, if I talk about the qualification required, third is the must be a registered elector for a parliamentary constituency. Now see, these 3 are the conditions. Constituency. These 3 are the conditions required for a person to being a member of parliament from the Lok Sabha. ध्यान से समझना these 3 conditions. First, we will be having कि कम से कम 25 साल की एज होनी चाहिए. Secondly, must be a citizen of India. And third, must be a registered elector for a parliamentary constituency. Now, if I see the options given, see anyone residing in India. This is a vague statement, or I can say absurd statement. Anyone residing in India. It can also be a foreign citizen who is residing in India, an American national, a European national who might be residing in India at that point of time. Will he or she be eligible for membership to the Lok Sabha? That is a very irrelevant answer. So A statement cannot be the answer. Secondly, a resident of the constituency from which the election is to be contested. Again, this is also an absurd statement कि वो resident तो है, but इसका मतलब ये तो नहीं है ना कि उसका नाम electoral roll में आए. और I can say what is the guarantee that that person is above the age of 25 years. कहाँ पे ऐसा लिखा है कि a resident of the constituency from which the election is to be contested? कहाँ पे लिखा है ऐसा कि उसका age 25 से ऊपर है? और I can say he or she is a citizen of India, or his or her name is appearing in the electoral roll of the constituency. तीनों में से कोई भी condition satisfy हो, इस बात की कोई भी guarantee नहीं है. Now, if I see the third statement, any citizen, अच्छा एक बार fourth statement देखते हैं. Any citizen of India. फिर से contradiction मिला मेरे को. Any citizen of India मतलब कोई भी age हो, either he is 18, 21, 15, 14, whatever be the age, but इसका मतलब क्या 14 ईयर्स का एडोलसेंट कोई बच्चा है तो कैन ही फाइट फॉर द लोकसभा इलेक्शंस? बट एनी सिटीजन ऑफ इंडिया में तो यही डेफिनेशन आ रहा है. नाउ इफ आई सी द थर्ड स्टेटमेंट, any citizen of India whose name appears in the electoral roll of a constituency. Now see, electoral roll of a constituency में नाम तभी आएगा when he or she is fulfilling these three criteria, like not less than 25 years of age, then he or she must be a citizen of India, क्योंकि इसके बिना electoral roll में नाम ही आना impossible है. Must be a registered elector for a parliamentary constituency. So this is how these three conditions are being fulfilled by the C option, that is any citizen of India whose name appears in the electoral roll of a constituency. So this answer for this question number will be C option, that is any citizen of India whose name appears in the electoral roll of a constituency. अब एक बात ध्यान से समझना, हमारे PYQ एनालिसिस में आपने अभी तक देखा, दिस इज द फोर्थ लेक्चर ऑफ दिस सीरीज, कि हम लोग ना हर ऑप्शन को अच्छे से डिस्कस करते हैं. एंड यू विल सी कि हाउ यू कैन डिड्यूस द राइट आंसर जस्ट बाय रीडिंग द अदर ऑप्शन. जैसे यू हैव रेड एनीवन रिजाइडिंग इन इंडिया, नॉट पॉसिबल. एनी सिटीजन ऑफ इंडिया, नॉट पॉसिबल. अ रेसिडेंट ऑफ द कॉन्स्टिट्यूएंसी फ्रॉम विच द इलेक्शन इज टू बी कंटेस्टेड, नॉट पॉसिबल. तो फाइनली वी गोट द राइट आंसर इन द फॉर्म ऑफ ऑप्शन C. So this is how we can get the right answer just by reading out the options. Now moving on to the next question, we have question number 76 and it is in the year, one second, yeah, question number 76, one second. Okay, so here we are with the question number 76. It was a 2017 previous year question. Now if I see, consider the following statements. In the election for the Lok Sabha or the state assembly, the winning candidate must get at least 50% of the votes polled to be declared elected. This is a very vague statement if you go by the definition of the first past the post system. In the Lok Sabha election or the state assembly election, the system being followed is first past the post system. First past the post system, or I can say constituency method. Constituency method. Here we have territorial constituencies, and from here we can elect the member of parliament or the member of legislative assembly. See, I am taking an example to help you understand what do you mean by first past the post system. Say for example, I have a constituency by the name of, say for example, I can say Ghaziabad, and in Ghaziabad there are a total of only 100 voters. कितने voters हैं यहाँ पे? 100. And there are 3 candidates, A, B and C, who are fighting for the elections to the Lok Sabha, and the constituency name is Ghaziabad. Now try to understand, say for example there are 100 voters and all of them voted in the election. All of them voted in the election. All of them voted. Now I can say कि A got 50 votes, A got 50 votes, B got 30 votes, तो C को कितना वोट मिलेगा? 20 votes. Now I can say कि A got the maximum number of votes which is 50, B got 30 votes and C is 20 votes. Can you tell me who will be the winner of this Ghaziabad parliamentary constituency? It will be A, because A got the maximum number of votes. A got the maximum number of votes. But अगर ऐसा नहीं होता, say for example कि A got, say for example A को मिला कितना? 40 votes. ठीक है, B को कितना मिला? 30 वोट या 31 वोट, तो 40 और 31 हो गया 71, तो C को कितना वोट्स मिला? 29. नाउ टेल मी, इस केस में विनर कौन होगा जब A को 40 वोट्स मिला? इस बार भी विनर विल बी A, because he got the maximum number of votes which is 40 in this case. Now tell me, is 40 votes is 40 votes, the 50% of the votes polled, टोटल वोट्स कितने पोल हुए 100, बिकॉज वी हैव 100 वोटर्स, और 100 का 50% वोट कितना होता 50, बट इस केस में ए इज द विनिंग कैंडिडेट एंड ए गोट 40 वोट्स, और 40 इज लेस देन द 50 वोट्स विच इज द 50% ऑफ द वोट्स पोल्ड. इसका मतलब इन दिस केस it is not with a guarantee like कि A will be getting the 50% of the votes. Right? This is the beauty of the first past the post system कि जिस कैंडिडेट को सबसे ज्यादा वोट मिलेंगे he or she will be the winning candidate. 50% का कोई रूल नहीं है फर्स्ट पास्ट द पोस्ट सिस्टम में. तो इसका मतलब दिस स्टेटमेंट इन द लोकसभा इलेक्शन और स्टेट असेंबली द विनिंग कैंडिडेट मस्ट गेट एटलीस्ट 50% ऑफ द वोट्स पोल्ड टू बी डिक्लेयर्ड इलेक्टेड. दिस इज अ रॉन्ग स्टेटमेंट. Because you don't need 50% of the votes, you just need maximum of the votes. You just need maximum of the votes to get elected. So this is how the first past the post system works. So this is a wrong statement. Now coming on to the statement 2, according to the provisions laid down in the Constitution of India, in Lok Sabha the speaker post goes to the majority party and the deputy speaker to the opposition. See, this is happening. By convention, the post of the speaker goes to the majority party and the post of deputy speaker goes to the opposition party. This is happening, we are not denying this fact. But nowhere in the constitution it is written ki like the post of the speaker must be from the majority party and the post of deputy speaker from the opposition. Nowhere in the constitution such kind of statement has been mentioned. Nowhere in the constitution. So where it is like we are taking this provision from? This is being taken from the conventions of the parliamentary system. Conventions का मतलब the system which we have been following for a very long time. So इसका मतलब by convention speaker is from the ruling party and deputy speaker is from the opposition party. Nowhere in the constitution this process has been mentioned. So this statement will also be wrong. 1 is wrong. 2 is wrong. So the answer for this question will be option D, that is neither of the statement is correct. Answer will be option D. Alright. Is it clear to you? Now moving on to the next question, we have question number 86. It is a very simple question. Now if I talk about the right to vote and to be elected in India is a fundamental right, natural right, constitutional right, legal right. See, the answer for this question is constitutional right. Constitutional right, why? Because we are getting the powers of voting from the article 326. Article 326 talks about being electing as well as getting elected in India. So it is article 326 that is talking about the voting system, and article 326 is a part of the constitution, and from here you are getting the power to vote or the power to get elected. So this is how right to vote as well as to be elected in India becomes a constitutional right. So it is a constitutional right, or I can say it is from the article 326. All right. So the answer for this question will be option C, that is constitutional right. Now moving on to the next question, we have a question number 36 and it was a previous year question of 2023. Now if I read the statements, if the election of the president of India is declared void, मतलब क्या हुआ कि election हुआ president का, say for example in November of 2023, 2022 ले लेते हैं, president is elected, but in the February of the 2023 year, February of 2023, the election was declared void. Election declared void. Void का मतलब कि somehow the presidential election was compromised, और I can say कुछ ना कुछ प्रॉब्लम थी जिसकी वजह से सुप्रीम कोर्ट ने इलेक्शन को क्या कर दिया, कैंसिल आउट कर दिया. इसका मतलब नवंबर 2022 the president was elected and it was the February 2023 up to which he was the president of the country, after that he was removed from the post. इसका मतलब वो प्रेसिडेंट कितने महीनों के लिए था? इट इज नवंबर, दिसंबर, जनवरी, फरवरी, 4 months. For 4 months he acted as the president of the country. For 4 months he or she acted as the president of the country. Now the first statement reads, फर्स्ट स्टेटमेंट क्या बोल रहा है कि इफ द इलेक्शन ऑफ द प्रेसिडेंट ऑफ इंडिया इज डिक्लेयर्ड वॉइड बाय द सुप्रीम कोर्ट ऑफ इंडिया, all acts done by him her in the performance of duties of his her office of president before the date of decision becomes invalid. This is a wrong statement, because whatever acts are done by the president in this 4-month period, whatever acts done by the president in this 4-month period, whatever bills he or she have assented to, कुछ भी स्टेप लिया है प्रेसिडेंट ने इन 4 महीनों में, these acts will not be cancelled out. These acts will not be cancelled out. अच्छे से याद रखना, ये एक्ट्स क्या रहेंगे? वैलिड रहेंगे. These acts will become valid. So this statement is clearly wrong. वो एक्ट्स क्या रहेंगे? वैलिड रहेंगे, इनवैलिड नहीं होंगे. Statement 2, election for the post of the president of India can be postponed on the ground that some legislative assemblies have been dissolved and elections are yet to take place. This is also a wrong statement, because it has been clearly mentioned कि you cannot cancel out a presidential election on the reason that electoral college was incomplete. क्या रीजन दिया? कि अगर आप रीजन देते हैं कि इलेक्टोरल कॉलेज वाज इनकम्प्लीट, तो इस केस पे आप प्रेसिडेंशियल इलेक्शन को कैंसिल आउट कर सकते हैं. दिस कैन नेवर हैपन. फॉर द टाइम बीइंग, नवंबर 2022 में जितना भी इलेक्टोरल कॉलेज प्रेजेंट था, उसी से आप इलेक्शन करवाएंगे. यू विल नॉट वेट कि इलेक्टोरल कॉलेज कंप्लीट नहीं है, so that we can wait for some more time so that these vacancies or these members can be elected. This will never happen. For the time being, जितने भी members हैं उन्हीं से voting होगा. All right. So this statement is also correct. Wrong. Second is wrong. One is wrong. Third, when a bill is presented to the President of India, the Constitution, लिख दिया, the Constitution prescribes the time limits within which he or she has to declare his her assent. This is also a wrong statement, because in Indian Constitution there is no time limit for the President of India to act on any particular matter. There is no time limit. President can take whatever amount of time he or she wants to take. So this is also a wrong statement. 3 is also wrong. How many of the above statements are correct? So the answer will be option D, because none of the statements have been correct. So I think this question has been clear to you. Moving on to the next question, we have question number 80, and it was a question of the previous year 2023. This year it is the recent paper question. Saurabh, पानी देना. Now we have question which was a previous year question of the 2023 year. Now talking about the options, पहला ऑप्शन क्या है? The members nominated, ध्यान से वर्ड पढ़ना, nominated to either house of the parliament, मतलब राज्यसभा as well as लोकसभा, or the legislative assembly of states, state legislative assembly, are also eligible to be included in the electoral college. This is a wrong statement. हमेशा याद रखना कि in case of presidential election, it is only the elected members. Elected को ध्यान से समझना. It is only the elected members of the parliament as well as state legislative assemblies who will participate. क्या मतलब हुआ? In this case, लोकसभा के इलेक्टेड मेंबर्स, राज्यसभा के इलेक्टेड मेंबर्स, लेजिस्लेटिव असेंबली के इलेक्टेड मेंबर्स, बस ये चीज याद रखना, 3 लाइंस, लोकसभा के इलेक्टेड मेंबर्स, राज्यसभा के इलेक्टेड मेंबर्स एंड लेजिस्लेटिव असेंबली के इलेक्टेड मेंबर्स, ओनली दीज पीपल विल पार्टिसिपेट इन द इलेक्शन ऑफ द प्रेसिडेंट। लेजिस्लेटिव असेंबली इज इन दिल्ली, तो इसका मतलब दिल्ली के लेजिस्लेटिव असेंबली के इलेक्टेड मेंबर्स विल आल्सो पार्टिसिपेट। नाउ इफ आई आस्क कि नॉमिनेटेड मेंबर्स ऑफ लोकसभा, अब मेरे को एक बात बताओ, क्या नॉमिनेटेड मेंबर्स ऑफ लोकसभा इस लिस्ट में है? सो दे विल नॉट पार्टिसिपेट इन द प्रेसिडेंशियल इलेक्शन। नॉमिनेटेड legislators of Rajya Sabha, they will also not participate. Similarly, if I say कि members of the state legislative council, भाई मेरे को एक बात बताओ यहाँ पे, क्या मैंने लिखा क्या legislative council? It is only the legislative assembly, और उसमें भी उसके elected members, not nominated members. Legislative assembly के सिर्फ elected members will participate, not nominated members. कभी confuse मत होना. It is only the elected members of both houses of the parliament as well as the legislative assembly of the state. So this statement, the members nominated to either house of the parliament, this is a wrong statement. यहाँ पे क्या आना चाहिए? Elected आना चाहिए. क्या आना चाहिए? Elected, not nominated. So this is a wrong statement. Then we have higher the number of elected, higher the number of elective assembly seats, higher is the value of vote of each MLA of that state. Now if I talk about value of vote of an MLA, इसको हटा देते हैं. If I talk about the formula is value of vote of an MLA, value of vote of an MLA of a state, इसका जो वैल्यू होगा ना वोट का, दिस विल बी total population of the state, total population of the state upon, नीचे आएगा डिवीजन में 1000 into total number of elected members, total number of elected members in the state legislative assembly. This is the formula for the value of vote of an MLA. क्या फॉर्मूला है? Value of vote of an MLA of a state is the total population of the state divided by 1000 into total number of elected members in the state legislative assembly. अब मेरे को एक बात बताओ सिंपल, कि इसमें क्या लिखा? Higher the number of elective assembly seats, higher is the value of vote of each MLA of that state. Just tell me कि वैल्यू ऑफ वोट तो इधर ऊपर है और टोटल नंबर ऑफ इलेक्टेड मेंबर्स इन द स्टेट लेजिस्लेटिव असेंबली ये नीचे है. इसका मतलब वैल्यू आई कैन से इज इनवर्सली प्रोपोर्शनल टू द टोटल नंबर ऑफ इलेक्टेड मेंबर्स. टोटल नंबर ऑफ इलेक्टेड मेंबर्स नीचे है, डिनोमिनेटर में है, बट वैल्यू ऑफ वोट ऑफ एन एमएलए इक्वल में है ऊपर न्यूमरेटर में. तो भाई दे आर इनवर्सली प्रोपोर्शनल. और इनवर्सली प्रोपोर्शनल का मतलब क्या है कि अगर टोटल नंबर ऑफ मेंबर्स इन द स्टेट लेजिस्लेटिव असेंबली इंक्रीज होगा तो उस केस में वैल्यू ऑफ वोट ऑफ एमएलए डिक्रीज होगा. बट इसने क्या लिखा कि हायर द नंबर ऑफ इलेक्टिव असेंबली सीट्स, हायर इज द वैल्यू ऑफ वोट. बट होना क्या चाहिए था यहाँ पे? लोअर द नंबर ऑफ इलेक्टिव असेंबली सीट्स, higher is the value of vote of each MLA of that state. So this is a wrong statement because it happens in a opposite direction. कि जितना ज्यादा वैल्यू ऑफ वोट ऑफ MLA होगा उतना कम ही इलेक्टेड मेंबर्स होंगे लेजिस्लेटिव असेंबली में, या मैं बोलूं जितने ज्यादा इलेक्टेड मेंबर्स होंगे असेंबली में उतना ही कम वैल्यू होगा MLA के वोट का. So this is how they are inversely proportional to each other. So this statement will also be wrong. Okay, so 1 is wrong, 2 is wrong. Moving on to the next statement. Okay, now this statement, the value of vote of each MLA of MP is greater than that of Kerala. See, this is a like factual question. You must be remembering the value of vote of each MLA, value of vote of MLA from each state, Now if I calculate, now if I put in these values, or I can say if I look at the current affairs where the value of each MLA vote is sometimes represented, I can see, इसको हटा देते हैं, I can see based on the 1971 population census 2026 तक it is held constant. Okay, so this statement was correct, this was wrong, this was wrong. This, the value of vote of each MLA of Madhya Pradesh is greater than that of Kerala. Now if I see the value of vote of each of the state, MP has the value of vote as 131 and Kerala is having the value of vote as 152. And if I talk about the Arunachal Pradesh के केस में this is 8 and Pondicherry के केस में it is 16. Puducherry के केस में it is 16. Now the value of vote of each MLA of Madhya Pradesh is greater than that of Kerala. Now MP का जो एक value है this is 131 और केरला के केस में it is 152. So this is a wrong statement because the value of vote of each MLA of Madhya Pradesh is less than that of Kerala. So this is a wrong statement. Now moving on to the next statement, the value of vote of each MLA of Puducherry is higher than that of Arunachal Pradesh because the ratio of total population to the total number of elective seats in Puducherry is greater as compared to Arunachal Pradesh. See, this statement is clearly correct because if I see कि Puducherry में it is the value 16 but in case of Arunachal Pradesh it is 8. So the value of vote of each MLA of Puducherry is greater than that of Arunachal Pradesh. So this statement is only correct. Now moving on to the options, I can say कि 3 statements out of 4 are incorrect or wrong. Only one statement, that is the 4th statement, is correct. So the answer for this will be option. Answer for this will be option B, that is option A, that is only one statement has been correct. So the answer will be option A. Option A will only be the answer. Now moving on to the next question, we have, okay, so we have the next topic, panchayats and municipalities. Panchayats and municipalities. And the first question is of the year 2016. Okay, let us read the question. Consider the following statements. The minimum age prescribed for any person to be a member of panchayat is 25 years. ये तो absolutely wrong statement है because to be a member of panchayat you just need to be 21 years old. 21 years old, not 25. So this is a wrong statement. Now see, a panchayat reconstituted after premature dissolution continues only for the remainder period. This is a correct statement because if you constitute a new panchayat, so it will continue only for the remainder period. It will not be constituted for the 5-year period. It will be constituted only for the remainder period. So this is a correct statement. So 1 is wrong, 2 is correct. So the answer will be option, that is 2 only, second only statement is correct. Now moving on to the next question, we have question number 16 and it is a previous year question of the 2017 year. 2017 year का previous year question है, 1 second. Okay, so the question reads, local self-government can be best explained as an exercise in. Now see, the question has been talking about local self-government. And local self-government matlab we have panchayati raj institutions as well as municipalities. And can you tell me the purpose for which these panchayati raj institutions as well as municipalities were created? Or I can say these were created to bring governments closer to the people, to bring government closer to the people, or I can say to bring democracy closer to the people, democracy closer to the people, और I can say इसका जो दूसरा मतलब है that is democratic decentralization, कि आप डेमोक्रेसी को एक और लेवल पे लोगों के करीब लेके जा रहे हो. So this is how the panchayati raj system as well as the municipality are working. So now if I see the other options like federalism, federalism is already there in the Indian Constitution, like the levels of central government, state government, or the I can say the 7th schedule lists are there. So this is how you are getting the concepts of federalism in the Indian administrative political setup. So federalism is already there. आपने पंचायती राज सिस्टम लाके उसको कुछ अलग एनहेंस नहीं किया. Now if I see about that fourth option, direct democracy, in India there is nothing related to direct democracy. We don't have plebiscite, we don't have referendum, we don't have recall, we don't have initiative. So no component of direct democracy is being working in India. So this is not related to the answer. So this is a wrong statement. Then we have administrative delegation. This is also wrong, because you are not, or I can say administrative machinery is not delegating its powers or responsibilities to another levels. So this is how the rest of the three statements cannot be the answer. But हमने starting में बताया ना कि why पंचायती राज institutions as well as municipalities are working to bring governments one step closer to the people, or I can say to bring democracy one step closer to the people of the country. So the answer for this will be option B, that is the democratic decentralization. Okay, moving on to the next question we have. Okay, next topic we have amendment to the constitution. Amendment to the Constitution of India. How you amend the Constitution of India? So basically these type of questions are clubbed in a similar fashion. Consider the following statements. The 44th Amendment to the Constitution of India introduced an article placing the election of the Prime Minister beyond judicial review. देखो, this is a wrong statement. याद रखना, 42nd Amendment Act tried to increase the powers of the executive. क्या मतलब हुआ? 42nd Amendment Act tried to increase the powers of the political executive. And इसको negate करने के लिए we had 44th Amendment Act which tried to bring the status quo. मतलब जैसे 42nd Amendment Act tried to increase the sphere of influence of the political executive. So 44th Amendment Act tried to decrease it. 44th Amendment Act क्या ट्राई किया कि अपने पॉलिटिकल एग्जीक्यूटिव के जो पावर्स हैं उसको वी कैन रेस्ट्रेन. तो इसका मतलब अगर 44th अमेंडमेंट एक्ट के बारे में आप बोल रहे हो कि इंट्रोड्यूस एन आर्टिकल प्लेसिंग द इलेक्शन ऑफ द प्राइम मिनिस्टर बियॉन्ड जुडिशियल रिव्यू, इट इज नॉट द ट्रेट ऑफ द 44th अमेंडमेंट एक्ट. बेसिकली इट वाज द 39th अमेंडमेंट एक्ट व्हिच ट्राइड टू डू सो. 39th अमेंडमेंट एक्ट व्हिच ट्राइड टू प्लेस द इलेक्शन ऑफ द president, vice president as well as the prime minister beyond judicial review. It was not the 44th Amendment Act. So this is a wrong statement. The Supreme Court of India struck down 99th Constitutional Amendment Act to the Constitution of India as being violative of the independence of judiciary. So this is a right statement because 99th Amendment Act was related to NJAC. And NJAC was struck down by the Supreme Court of India. Why? Because it thought of violation. It thought of it as a violation of the separation of powers. Like the parliament is venturing into the domain of the judiciary. So this is how the NJAC was struck down as the unconstitutional or ultra virus. So this is a correct statement. 1 is wrong, 2 is correct. So the answer will be option B, that is only 2 statement has been correct. Now question number 47. Question number 47 is regarding 9th schedule, and the question reads, it was a 2019 previous year question, and the question reads, the 9th schedule was introduced in the Constitution of India during the Prime Ministership of. See, 9th schedule was added by the First Amendment Act. First Amendment Act, and it happened in the year 1951. And in the year 1951, it was Prime Minister Jawaharlal Nehru. It was Prime Minister Jawaharlal Nehru, जिसकी tenure में we had the 9th schedule, or I can say we had the First Amendment Act. So the answer for this will be option A, that is Jawaharlal Nehru. Moving on to the next question, we have next question. Okay, question is, okay, this is also the similar question. Question number 50, it was a 2019 question. Under which schedule of the Constitution of India can the transfer of tribal land to private parties for mining be declared null and void? पूछ रहा है किस स्केड्यूल में अगर ट्राइबल्स लैंड ट्रांसफर करेंगे दैट कैन बी डिक्लेयर्ड नल एंड वॉइड. ठीक है, थर्ड स्केड्यूल, फिफ्थ स्केड्यूल, नाइन्थ स्केड्यूल, 12th स्केड्यूल. सी, आपको बाकी सब स्केड्यूल्स के सब्जेक्ट मैटर पता होने चाहिए. स्केड्यूल्स के सब्जेक्ट मैटर पता होने चाहिए कि थर्ड स्केड्यूल किससे रिलेटेड है, नाइन्थ स्केड्यूल किससे रिलेटेड है, 12th स्केड्यूल किससे रिलेटेड है. So the answer in this case will be fifth schedule. Fifth schedule, that is पेसा एक्ट, जहां पे एप्लीकेबल होगा ट्राइबल एरियाज में, ट्राइबल एरियाज में. So this is being regulated by the fifth schedule areas, fifth schedule areas. And in this schedule there is a provision that prohibits the transfer of tribal land to private parties for mining. So basically it is a subject matter of the fifth schedule. So the answer for this question will be option B, that is fifth schedule. Moving on to the next question, we have question number 13. This is, consider the following statements. Okay, it was a previous year of 2022. It was a 2022 question, and the question reads, a bill amending the Constitution of India requires a prior permission of the President of India. This is a wrong statement. Why? Because to amend the Constitution, the bill can be introduced by the minister or it can be introduced by a private member, but it does not require the assent of, it does not require the prior recommendation of the President of India. In case of constitutional amendment bill, you don't require the recommendation of the President of India. So this is a wrong statement. When a constitution amendment bill is presented to the President of India, it is obligatory for the President of India to give his her assent. This is a correct statement, because in case of constitutional amendment bill, both the House, Lok Sabha as well as Rajya Sabha need to pass the bill by a special majority separately, and when this bill, after the passage from both the houses, is presented to the Parliament President, then it is obligatory on the President of India to give the assent. So this is the correct statement. Third statement, a constitutional amendment bill must be passed by both the Lok Sabha and the Rajya Sabha by a special majority, and there is no provision for joint sitting. What we just discussed now, कि लोकसभा और राज्यसभा को अलग अलग पास करना पड़ेगा with a special majority. There is no provision of joint sitting in case of constitutional amendment bill. So this is also a correct statement. 1 is wrong, 2 is correct, 3 is correct. So the answer will be option B, that is 2 and 3 only. Moving on to the next question. I think this is the last question for the series, and the question reads, in India, which one of the following constitutional amendments was widely believed to be enacted to overcome the judicial interpretations of the fundamental rights? See, this is a very repetitive question, and this question is talking about to be enacted to overcome the judicial interpretations. मतलब कि आपके जो एक्ट्स है ना, आपको उसको इम्यून करना है, किससे? इम्यून फ्रॉम जुडिशियल रिव्यू. And to immune an act from a judicial review, we constituted what? This is 9th schedule. और 9th schedule किस लिए लाए थे हम लोग? ताकि अगर हम कोई भी लॉ 9th schedule में प्लेस करें, it will become immune from the judicial review. अभी पिछला ही क्वेश्चन था जो क्वेश्चन पूछ रहा था कि 9th schedule किस प्राइम मिनिस्टर के अंडर आया था. Now this question has been asking कि 9th schedule किस अमेंडमेंट से आप लेके आए. As we know, it was the first amendment act passed in 1951 under the prime ministership of Jawaharlal Nehru that we had the 9th schedule. So the answer for this case will be first amendment, that is 1951. हम फर्स्ट अमेंडमेंट से तो लेके आए ना 1951 से, 9th schedule. So this will be the answer of this question. It is a very simple question. Not much further requirement of discussion required in this question. So this was the last question for the discussion of the PYQ analysis of the polity. I hope this series was very much fruitful to you. So we will be meeting in the next lecture, next series of the PYQ analysis, and we will be discussing the geography part. We have done with the polity part now. We will be discussing the geography part now. So till then, keep studying and keep revising. All the best. Thank you.